Aikido is a self-defensive Japanese martial art. It's developed by O-sensei, or great teacher, Morihei Ueshiba. It's a synthesis of a lot of older arts that he originally put together as something called Aikijutsu, which was a fairly violent and very effective art. But after a spiritual and moral revelation, he decided to change the art into one that would protect its attackers, to where instead of being so good that you could kill anybody, you could be so good you didn't have to. O-sensei founded Aikijutsu in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Basically, a bunch of different schools were going around in Japan called bujutsus, or samurai schools. They all taught very specific things. O-sensei went to a variety of sword and spear schools, as well as daito-ryo and some other self-defense like hand-to-hand schools. They were on the decline because of the Meiji Revolution. Gunpowder in the West had kind of marginalized traditional martial arts, so most of them were dying and closing down their doors. So O-sensei and several other contemporaries went around and grabbed all that they could, studied at several schools, and made their own schools. These schools are all very ancient in lineage, but fairly new in founding. Then, of course, World War II hit, and even more of the schools were lost and more of the instructors were lost. And at the end, only a few traditional ones remained. So Aikido is more of an art that seeks to redirect your opponent's energy, so that way if someone's bigger or stronger or faster, you still have a good chance. The founder was a very small man, actually, and very lightweight. And he could still defeat people who are a lot larger than him, but he did it by using their energy. It doesn't matter how big you are, your wrists are still a weak point. If someone can get you in a wrist lock, it'll still do things. Same thing with throws. You can take someone's balance if you move correctly. So he built the art that would basically work on a variety of different sizes. It does still use strikes, but not often, and they're usually for the purpose of distraction. Most of the Aikido stuff that O-sensei created came from weapon schools, which is why a lot of Aikido techniques are also very effective against weapon disarmaments. Since it came from those schools, we still practice a lot of those schools, weapon on weapon and also bare hand defending against weapon. There are 4 points that our association chooses to emphasize, and then there are 3 that our dojo chooses to emphasize. That's our 7 points. Center is emphasized, and that is both physically being centered in your center of mass, but it's also being centered in your emotions, centered in your mind, ready to move. Relax completely is both a physical thing. If I'm tight and tense, I'm not as quick. But also mentally, if I'm like focused on this thing that happened in my day and someone swings a sword at my head, I tend to get hit. Extend ki, it means extend energy. That's both physical as well as mental and emotional. We're into the training. And the last one is weight underside. That one's predominantly a physical principle, although mentally it also relates to being grounded and staying rooted. But physically, it's definitely I keep my weight under. In a throwing art, if your weight gets high, you're very easy to get thrown, or wrist locked, or punched actually. But if your weight's low, you can come underneath and redirect. One of ours is be respectful. The manual has 7 pages on respect, but it never actually straight up says be respectful. The other 2 for our dojo are love others and be humble. Humility is huge in the arts. If you're not willing to learn, there's not much point in being there. You can physically do the same thing, but if you're not open to what someone else's body may teach you, what the instructor may have to say, you really can't progress. You've capped where you're going to grow, and it's only going to go downhill from here. I mean, these principles are meant to be life principles. If it's a do, like judo, aikido, it's meant to be more than just a warrior school or a physical technique only.